Business as usual. Presidential elections have always been hard-fought battles, but this cycle has been bitter and broken all the norms of conventional politics. One of the issues at hand are the recent Supreme Court decisions, with controversial issues regarding the new healthcare law, gay marriage, and corporate spending in political campaigns. There is a lot of fuel for the fire this year. The Supreme Court has not been one of the centerpieces of an election cycle since Roe v. Wade was handed down in 1973. So upon the death of Associate Justice Scalia, this simmering volcano of a presidential election erupted. Justice Scalia had been a fixture of the Supreme Court since 1986 when Ronald Reagan nominated him to replace Associate Justice William Rehnquist. He quickly became known for his acerbic wit during oral arguments and his excoriating dissents. He was a member of the court's conservative wing and was often in the majority of 5-4 decisions that would divide the court along ideological lines. Immediately after his death, Republican lawmakers were called upon to block hearings for any Obama nominee, no matter who. On March 16, 2016, President Obama nominated Chief Justice of the United States Court of Appeals First Circuit Merrick Garland. He has not yet had a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, currently controlled by Republicans. Democrats have cried foul. President Obama accused Republican members of eroding the impartiality and the integrity of the court by making a political fight over the nomination, and Vice President Biden has claimed that senators are failing to do their constitutional obligations. But do these comments hold upon deep consideration of the framing of the Constitution, the history of the nomination process, and the actions of the speakers themselves? Let's explore this. The framing of the Constitution was a legendary, long, hard-fought battle fought in the wake of the ineffective Articles of Confederation. One of these battles was over the nomination process of justices to the Supreme Court. This battle was between James Madison and Nathaniel Gorham. Madison valued a strong presidency and wanted the president to be able to nominate a justice to the Supreme Court with little resistance. Upon nomination, the Senate would have a limited amount of time to vote against the nominee. Gorham, on the other hand, favored a weak presidency in order to guard against an individual's potential despotic tendencies. He favored the current system that is written in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution. In this process, the president must submit a nominee. The nominee must then have hearings with the Senate Judiciary Committee, and then he or she may advance to the full Senate where a simple majority can confirm the nominee to a justice. The majority of the Third Continental Congress delegates agreed with Gorham that the strength of the judiciary would lead to political battles and must be protected from being used as a political tool of the president by a long and cumbersome nomination process. The framers actually assumed the nomination processes would be bitter battles and gave the Senate the ability to ignore nominees in addition to denying them by simple floor vote. It seems the president and his second-in-command may be on the wrong side of history. But has the Senate actually used their powers given to them? Of the 161 nominees formally put forward to the Senate, 124 have been confirmed, 7 declined to serve, 12 were rejected by the Senate, 12 were withdrawn for lack of obvious support, and 12 were not even granted a vote. A minority, yes, but 7% of all nominees were never granted an audience with the Senate. The most contentious battles were in the antebellum period. In the 1840s, President Tyler nominated 9 men, 2 of whom, Reuben Walworth and John Reed, were never granted a hearing before the Senate. Then in 1852, in the heat of the debate over slavery, President Fillmore nominated Edward Bradford. However, it was an election year and the opposing Democratic Party had a majority in the Senate and expected to win the election in November. They denied hearings, won the White House, and installed their own nominee in the spring. But these nominees were ignored in tough political times, counter supporters. But this claim does not hold, as though the antebellum period was certainly more politically charged than today, our political climate is certainly not neighborly. In addition, there were nominees who were rejected during times of peace and prosperity, including under President Warren G. Harding in the Roaring Twenties. Nominee Pierce Bartlett was never granted a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. It seems the pillars of Democrats' arguments are crumbling before their feet. But maybe Democrats are on higher moral ground than Republicans are right now. Consider Vice President Biden's comments that senators are failing to do their constitutional obligation, implying he would have voted for hearings if he were in Republican shoes. Would he? C-SPAN provides us with an answer. On February 22, 2016, C-SPAN posted a video to their website of then Delaware Senator Joe Biden on the Senate floor in June of 1992 advising President George H.W. Bush to refrain from nominating a replacement if a vacancy were to open up in the near future. He claimed that the harm done to the presidency, the Senate, the nominee, and the nation during the nomination process would be too great in the full throes of an election year. The parallels between 1992 and 2016 are numerous, except for one. The Democrats control the White House now, and the Republicans control the Senate, exactly reversed positions. It seems that Republicans are simply employing a strategy invented by Vice President Biden. The political hypocrisy is almost palpable. In light of the explicit powers granted to the Senate by the Constitution, the diverse setting in which past nominees were ignored, and the previous actions of prominent leaders of the left, Democrat claims of foul play by current Republican senators are not simply political hyperbole, but willful lies and striking hypocrisy meant to mislead the public. In other words, it really is just business as usual on Capitol Hill.